Yes.
So I'm down here in the basement now, just getting a couple things ready to take over to the garage. I need to make sure to grab my impact guns, my half inch and my 3/8 heat gun. Gonna need that to take some of the vinyl off of the fiberglass body. Once we get to that point, a couple other things here and there, just making sure I get some things together that I think I'm gonna need. We're getting ready to actually go pick up the truck soon so that we can go get the trailer, go get my actual professional toolbox that I'm going to be using for most everything. Most all of my stuff is in there. And then we're going to pick up the trailer and hopefully go get our first car today. Really excited to get this started and underway, get everything rolling. Really excited to finally get my hands on something that I can actually do that's interesting and fun and hopefully make a really good business out of. And I just want you guys to kind of come along and see everything we got going on. Content's not going to be my main priority here. I just want to document some of the things that I'm doing, give you guys an idea of where I'm going, things to expect. I'm going to be really busy actually building these cars. So I'm really going to have to focus on those things, but I'm going to have a camera in the background at times. Not going to try and do a lot of face-to-face stuff, but probably a lot of voiceover stuff. But just keep an eye on everything that's out there, and hopefully you guys will be hearing big things from New Yankee Auto Systems. So we're at my work. We're all hooked up. Just going to do a quick equipment check. I've got my battery chargers over there, my heat gun, extra flashlight, extra impact battery. In here I've got my half-inch impact, 3/8 impact, and other miscellaneous tools, some extra ratchet straps, flashlight, camera tripod, lawnmower battery for the winch that probably won't do me any good, but we'll give it a shot. And then over here, we got the truck. My stepdad was kind enough to let me borrow it. Came to work, borrowed a trailer from work as well. So thanks to everybody that's helped me out. Got my professional toolbox. We're gonna get that all squared away. Should be tight, or at least as tight as we can get with a trailer with no hooks. And now we are getting ready to head out and go get our first car. So exciting stuff.
The petty Chevy has arrived. Alright, so we borrowed the truck, we borrowed the trailer, we got the toolbox, we got the car. What I'm going to call the petty Chevy is back at NYAS headquarters. We're going to go in a more in-depth look once we get everything offloaded. It's going to take us a while to get it offloaded. That's not going to be interesting to you guys. We got to get this car off, get the toolbox in, and then we will go through an in-depth tour of everything when we've got the chance to do so. Alright, it's the next day. I'm back at the shed. I've got some things to do here. I've got some more supplies brought in. Today's really just going to be an in-depth look more at the vehicle, find out exactly what we're dealing with. Then I'm going to go ahead and get into a little bit of vinyl decal removal. Just need to get some of the things off the car, get it back to more of a blank state. Don't worry, some of them are staying. It'll still look like a Legends car. But first things first, we're going to go ahead and get in there. We're going to get moved out to a little bit more light so things will be better to see. At this point, I'm going to have to apologize to you guys for any kind of background noises that you hear, such as helicopters, airplanes, heck, even cows. I'm working in an open space, and it's on an active farm. So you guys are probably even going to hear and maybe even see a couple of cows and moo-moos every once in a while. Okay, so we've got the car pushed forward into a little bit better light. You can see a little bit more of it. Not a lot of great lighting around here. Gonna work on that, but for right now, just gonna work with what we got. First thing we're gonna do is pop the hood off. I haven't actually ever looked under the hood of one of these, so I'm gonna have to find out exactly what everything looks like. At this point, I needed a small flathead screwdriver, and no matter how many times I go to my toolbox, I never pick the right drawer the first time. Seems like I'm going to need a little screwdriver too to get these back panels open. A little quarter turn wing nut. Go ahead and get this off of here. Maybe. There we go. And underneath there is our 1200cc Yamaha inline 4-cylinder engine. Not sure if this one was stroked out to 1250 or if it was 1200 or not. This one's going to be kind of like a little discovery car for me, finding everything out that makes it tick. I've got to get this one running. The other car that I have is going to be running when I pick it up. So hopefully between the two, I'll be able to figure out what's going on with them. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick walk around of the car, just take a look at some things, point out some obvious damages. Yes, this was a former racing car. So right here, we've got a lot of fiberglass damage that I do not know can be repaired. I know nothing about fiberglass repair. Probably have to get a new fender for that side. A couple of other pieces of damage down here. So probably really be a good idea to get a new fender for this side. Over here, we've got some damage as well. I don't know what this little snorkel vacuum's for. I'm guessing it's just to blow some extra heat underneath of the headers to make sure it doesn't get too hot. Got our oil cooler down there. 4-cylinder Yamaha 1200cc engine, clutch master cylinder and a brake master cylinder. Yes, the carburetors are off the car. They're not missing. They're just over there on the shelf. Gonna have to get some air pods for them too, but otherwise it looks like the clamps to actually keep them on are secure and they're there. Also have the throttle cable disconnected, obviously. Fuel line down here. What's pretty interesting about these cars is that they basically just take the drivetrain from a motorcycle, and instead of them sitting side by side across the motorcycle, they turn it 90 degrees, and that way they're able to utilize an inline version of the car, on the car, of the engine. Comes out to the stock transmission that was there from the Yamaha, and then they have an adapter plate that they bolt up to the transmission so they can bolt it onto a typical yoked drive shaft, which that drive shaft runs underneath and in a tunnel right through the side of the car. So we can see, if we look up in there, all of that white line there, that is the drive shaft. And that actually goes back to a rear end, just like a regular car. It's offset, very much so, but it started out life from a 78 to 81 Toyota Celica rear wheel drive. Up here, we've got our shift linkage. Everything connects to there. You would row it like you would on a bike. So instead of one down, you've got one forward, and then you've got four back. So that essentially makes it like it's a sequential shift car. Got what looks like a brake bias here. Gonna have to look into that more often. Seems like some of this paneling, or most of this paneling, is sheet metal. So we're gonna probably end up at one point ripping all of that sheet metal out. Well, not the sheet metal, the rivets that hold it in. And give it a good scrubbing, really good coat of paint. Not sure what color I'm gonna stick with. Probably stick with a white or something a little. Might go with something that isn't so bright when the sunlight hits it, because the intention is to get these on the street, road legal, drive around Tennessee. A couple other things that we've got going on. I really like this Give 'em Hell that the guy, previous owner, not from the owner I bought it from, but from the gentleman that actually raced the car, put in here. Maybe it was someone trying to give him a bit of encouragement. We've also got I am the best, be smooth and fast. Or be smooth, be fast. Probably going to find a way to keep that integrated to the car some way, but not in handwriting like that. Coming around to this side, not a lot to really discuss that we didn't talk about on the other side. Just get a good view of the wheels and tires in here. Got a 5-slot Bassett racing wheel. I believe the bolt pattern on these are 4x114.3. Most of the stuff on these cars actually come from a Toyota Celica setup from the late 70s, early 80s. So hopefully there might be something we could match up to that. Brakes are in there. These are actually a 13-inch wheel. Don't know what size the tires are. Can't rightly find it. I do know that based on the dot code, this tire is 15 years old. That's gonna have to get changed. What do we got? It doesn't say. Oh, there it is. 205/60R13. So there might be some room to go with a lower profile tire, bigger wheel, and setup like this. If we do that, I'd imagine we'd have to trim some of the fenders out. It's really going to be dependent on what the customer wants to do. I am going to focus with this one particularly, just getting it down to a bare basic state. Back here we've got the fuel cell. Looks like there's also a battery disconnect in there. There's a couple of more quarter-turn wig nuts here to get the rear hatch off. I dropped one of them. There is a fuel cell in this car. It looks like I can just unbolt this strap here. Might be able to extract that. I was advised to make sure I clean that fuel cell out before I do anything else with it. Also been told that it needs a fuel pump. There's a couple of other things in here I'd like to get a look at, but I'm gonna need a light. So now we've got a light in there, can take a better look at everything we're dealing with here. Looks like there's a big Panhard bar that runs across the back to the shortened rear axle, or at least what I can assume is a shortened rear axle. I wouldn't imagine the Celica had a offset differential like that. We've got something tied up over here. Not quite sure. Maybe that's, no, that looks like the fuel filter. Fuel lines coming out over here on the top of the fuel cell. Looks like more fuel lines down there. I'm not particularly fond of this brake line, the way they've ran it. I see that that is a braided steel line over there. But if you look real close, try and zoom in and show you, that brake line runs pretty close to the coilover shock there. I know a miss is as good as a mile, but I'm not too fond of it. I'm sure that they did it so that it wouldn't kink, but I'm going to see if maybe I can't reduce some of that line, push the bracket over further, come around that other line, turn that turn this junction over, and see if I can't get those lines ran a little better. These cars were never intended for street use. In my state, Tennessee, it seems like there's very little you have to do to get them street legal. front lights, rear lights. Gonna go a little further than that. But with Petty Chevy, for right now, we're just gonna focus on getting these stickers off right now. Look at what we can look at. It's really my first time looking at the car and a Legends car in general. So I'm sure there's going to be things that I find that were, hey, it's good enough for racing, it's good enough. But we're going to fix some of those things. So I'm just going to get stuck in here to getting the heat gun out, trying to get some of these vinyls off the car, get it back to a bare base state. Don't worry, color's not changing as far as I'm concerned. If the customer wants to change it, that's up to them. They're going to want to change it. I can't really fault them for that, but I think the Petty Blue looks really good on this Chevy sedan. That's what we're going to try and keep. Yes! So we've got the heat gun, or rather I've got the heat gun set up. Did a quick test pass. Got this K&N vinyl sticker off of it. It's the first tiny one that I could start with. Got in there, got it pretty good off of there. There's going to be a lot of adhesive and shadowing left on this from years of dirt and debris. Hopefully I can get in here with an adhesive cleaner once I've got all of these off. This obviously will get washed at some point too, but I'm just going to focus on getting all of these stickers off. I know that it's going to work using the heat gun, so we're going to go ahead and trudge on with that. So I started out removing the vinyls with the heat gun. I just wanted to focus on getting the edges pulled with the pick so I wouldn't mar the paint and hopefully wouldn't pull too much of the vinyl off at one given time. Quick little aside. Looks like all the vinyling may have been done by professional, which I'd expect, but signs by Roach. Sorry, Roach. You gotta go. At this point, the heat gun method was working really well, and I was surprised at how easily the vinyl was coming off, sometimes without even the heat, despite how old and how long I'm sure they've been on this car in particular, at least since 2009, I believe. Gonna go ahead and work on a little bit of this back end here. These little individual lighting, little letters in here, they're probably going to be a little more tedious. those smaller ones were really tedious, but what I'm finding is they're not requiring a ton of heat to have to come off. As long as I can get a little bit of heat to get the edge deformed a bit, get the pick in there or my fingernail, and they come off really easily. But one thing that does suck, really is not ideal about having had the vinyl on there, is that it has left a lot of glue residue behind. I'm going to have to get in there with some really good adhesive remover at one point. I couldn't get down in here too much because I think they stickered this before they riveted the fender on, which is fine. I just don't want to take off any body panels that I don't have to. Alright, and that's mostly one side of the car pulled off. I'm going to go ahead and off camera work on the other side, some other areas. You don't need to see me doing this a whole bunch of times. New Yankee Auto Systems. Okay, so I've gotten all of the stickers off the sides of the car, back of the car, one on the back of the roof. The only thing left is the panel on the back, and then the ones on the roof are going to stay. The ones on the hood here are the next ones to come off. So let's get stuck into it. Or rather, let's get unstuck into it. Alright, so all I have left now is to get these big 43 numbers off on the sides of the doors. Coffee's just as important. Happier dude, better mood. I'm going to slow the video down here just a little bit because you're going to see me make a very critical error. I'm using the heat gun, and I put the heat gun down on the step rail because it'd be a great place to put it. And I go right here, start to curl my hand under the vinyl, and right at this instance, right there, I burned the crap out of my hand. I learned my lesson. I was starting to get the hang of pulling the vinyl stickers off. I was still finding it a little disconcerting to pull on these large areas. I had experienced an issue at the back of the car where some of the paint did peel off. So I was worried that this big, giant area that was adhered to the car might pull some paint off and might pull a lot off at any given second. But I just kind of took my time, worked it back and forth, and then eventually it was just able to get it to pull off relatively easy. So we're working on getting all of these stickers off right now. Got most of this side, most of the back here. There's one here. One thing I'm kind of running into, the paint on this one particularly must have been a little thin, or I got it a little too hot, or I didn't get it hot enough, and it pulled up some of the paint. Hopefully, with the design of the new one, new livery to put on here, however the customer wants to do it, we might be able to just cover over those with fair caution that, hey, you take them off, you might run into this. Another little one I had right here. Looks like it might have been red underneath of this blue paint, so it's probably not the original color. It could be that someone didn't scuff it up beforehand, just paint it over. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll keep going. So at this point, I had intended to show you the rest of the removal of the 43 on the passenger side of the vehicle. However, in editing, I can see that this video is getting very long and repetitive. So all I'm going to do is give you a quick highlight and let you know that this door is missing 3 of the 6 rivets that hold it on. So it became very difficult to pull this one without potentially damaging anything else. But I eventually figured out that I just had to keep one of my hands down at the bottom just to keep it from moving. And then it just went just like the other side. It went perfectly fine. Now we've got almost all the vinyls off. Contemplating leaving this one here. Not exactly sure just yet. I've left the BF Goodrich on the hood there because I thought it looked good. Wasn't really going to bother too much. Got the vinyls off the rest of the hood. Off the side doors there. You saw that. The inside here, there were a couple vinyls I took off there. And some of the vinyls off the main dash plate there. You will see, as I had fun noticing, I do have a quick release steering wheel, so that's going to come in handy. The rest of the car, wasn't able to get too far down in there to get the vinyls off, but I did what I could. Didn't really have any other issues with paint pulling or peeling. I think these were the only real areas that had any issue with that. It just made it a little nerve-wracking, especially when I got over to this door here. On this door, you would have seen it's not actually attached all the way. It's missing quite a few of the rivets. It's only got 3 out of, I don't know, 6. So it was kind of hard to pull the vinyl off of that, but we did what we could. Got a couple more spots with a little more work to do, but I'm going to save that for a day when I've got adhesive remover with me. And we'll start getting all this gunk off of there and getting it all cleaned up. Congratulations, viewer. You've managed to make it this far. And I managed to make it out of that car. So if you've gotten this far, it's the end of the video. This is all I had for today. Make sure that you do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Any views and any followers would be greatly appreciated. I'm not going to have a lot of content, so it's going to really help you guys out to hit the notification bell. Make sure that when I have a video out, you know that it's out, and you can see the updates on the petty Chevy and everything else that is to come from Yankee Auto Systems.
Yes.